Now let's get something straight. Rolex isn't just a watch brand. It's a global phenomenon, a cultural icon, a psychological masterclass. We all know somebody who dreams of owning one, or somebody who doesn't shut up about the one they've just bought. But what if I told you Rolex made you feel this way on purpose? What if I told you this was manipulation? This isn't a hit piece, this is an expose. We're breaking down exactly how Rolex went from humble beginnings to becoming the most powerful luxury brand on the planet. Not by accident, but by engineering desire. Let's get into it. Now, to understand Rolex, we need to obviously begin at the start. We have to start with Hans Wilsdorf, the man who didn't even make watches. In 1905, at just age 24, he founded Wilsdorf and Davis in London, importing Swiss movements into English-made cases. He chose the name Rolex probably because it was short, easy to pronounce in any language, and it looked pretty good on the dial. We can't deny that. Even back then, I feel he understood something fundamental. People don't just buy timekeeping, they buy status and they buy into a story. Wilsdorf's genius wasn't really building watches, it was building trust and identity. So let's move on to his first psychological masterclass. In 1926, Rolex introduced the Oyster case, the world's first truly waterproof watch. And instead of just saying, hey, it's waterproof, Wilsdorf did something no one really expected and no one really did back then. He gave one to Mercedes Gleitzer. Now, I've definitely butchered the last name there. The first British woman to swim the English Channel. She wore the watch during her swim, it survived, and Rolex ran full-page ads declaring the wonder watch that defies the elements. And this was the start of the genius marketing campaign. Rolex didn't just sell you a product, it sold you proof. And it worked. You cannot deny that. Overnight, the Oyster wasn't just a waterproof watch. It was a symbol of endurance and success. Now, moving on to the birth of the crown. By the 1940s and 50s, Rolex had mastered the art of association. They weren't just selling watches anymore. They were selling lifestyle archetypes. Let's take the Explorer, for example. 1953, it summited Mount Everest with Hillary and Norgay. Now, many people say that these two individuals didn't wear an Explorer, and I very much well agree with you guys. But there's still that association. In 1954, we of course had the Submariner, the first diver's watch rated at 100 meters water resistance. Then, of course, we had the GMT Master in 1955, designed for Pan Am pilots, because jet travel was the new luxury of that time. Then we move on to the date, 1956. The President's Watch, literally worn by world leaders all around the world. There were 4 releases that essentially sold lifestyle archetypes and made people want to buy in to that lifestyle as opposed to just the watch. And that's the secret. Rolex didn't tell you what to buy, they told you who you could become if you wore it. By the way, if you're still watching this video, please do consider liking, subscribing. It really helps the channel. I'm really enjoying making these videos for you, and it will mean the world to me if you could follow and hit the bell icon as well. Follow me over on Instagram as well. Thank you. Moving on. Part 4, which for me I've labeled the marketing machine. They don't advertise in your face. Well, not obviously anyway. They sponsor moments. Let's take Wimbledon, for example, Formula 1, Le Mans, the Oscars. Events where success, legacy, and prestige are on full display. And they've always controlled their narrative supply. We cannot deny that. Scarcity isn't the problem. It's really and truly the strategy. And many of us might be in denial about that, but it's certainly a part of their strategy. Every shortage, every wait list, and every sorry sir, you're not on the list, it's all a part of the theater that surrounds Rolex. The more you can't have it, the more you want it. And I'm certainly a victim to this. When somebody tells me, or when I see a watch that is kind of nice, and then somebody tells you, by the way, Jack, do you know there's a 3-year waiting list for that? Do you know that it's almost impossible to get at retail? It suddenly makes me feel like, damn, I really want one now. Because you getting one shows you must be someone of status. And let's be honest, we're all victim to wanting to feel a little powerful in the room. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is Rolex has turned patience into status. I mean, you don't just buy a watch now. You don't just buy a Rolex, you earn it. And this is where the title comes into play. They are manipulating you. They're making you feel a certain way. They're controlling the narrative. Now moving on to part 5, the turning point for me was where the steel became gold, and let me explain what I mean here. For most brand, the steel option is the budget choice. But for Rolex, it's become the holy grail. The Submariner, the Daytona, the GMT Master 2, all in steel are the ones that people fight for. And by deliberately producing fewer steel sports models and oversupplying almost the precious metal versions, Rolex have almost flipped the luxury script. They made the cheaper material more desirable. And that is genius. Now, moving on to part 6, I've labeled this the modern myth. Fast forward to today, and Rolex is not a watch anymore. It's not just a watch brand anymore. It's a social currency. You can walk into any room and people just know what it means. They've almost cultivated an exclusivity without elitism. You can be a CEO, a pilot, a diver, or even a watch nerd or watch enthusiast like myself and yourselves that are watching this video. And also, let's not forget Rolex is a charitable foundation. All those profits feed into the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation, which owns Rolex SA. Technically, Rolex doesn't even need to grow. They almost just need to control the narrative and control the legend that they've basically become. This leads me on to the last part, part 7, which is the genius and the game. In conclusion, did Rolex manipulate us? Yes, but also I feel like they've earned it. They've done what every brand almost dreams of doing, which is turn a product into an emotion. When somebody buys a Rolex, they're not just buying a watch. They're buying validation, success, a piece of history that outlives them and says a lot about the individual. It's both brilliant and terrifying on how effectively they've manipulated everyone. Because whether you love Rolex or hate them, you're still talking about them, and I am guilty of doing that. So there you go. That's how Rolex became Rolex, a masterclass in marketing, in scarcity, in storytelling, and psychology, built over a century. Do I think they manipulate people? Yeah, of course, but I also think it's genius, and I rate it, I respect it, I can see right through it, but I am still a victim to their marketing genius and manipulation. It's something that I often talk about with my friends. Why does everyone talk about Rolex? Why is there so much hype around Rolex? They're great watches, but look, if you're buying on the secondary market and you're spending stupid amounts over retail, I never advise doing that. There are so many other great brands out there. Just explore and have a look. And look, not every watch out there is an investment, so be careful. If you've enjoyed this video, please do consider liking, subscribing, and hitting that bell icon. I've been Jag from Jags Watches, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.